It's a joy to know how a book ends by watching the TV show, knowing who to pay attention to, and getting a sense of the big plot stretches. This is especially true for House of the Dragon, where there's an extended cast with characters that seem similar to Game of Thrones. House of the Dragon has already proven itself to be a worthy successor to Game of Thrones. HBO's prequel series is full of gripping drama, gory deaths, and messy characters we sometimes love to hate and hate to love. Unlike Game of Thrones, however, House of the Dragon's first season features numerous time jumps to set up what will likely become the show's main conflict, the Dance of the Dragons. The Dance of the Dragons, as depicted in George R.R. Martin's novel Fire and Blood, on which House of the Dragon is based, is a bloody civil war between the Targaryen family. The civil war is sparked by a dispute over who should succeed King Viserys I as King of Westeros, his firstborn daughter, Rhaenyra Targaryen, whom he has chosen to be his successor and the first queen of Westeros, or his firstborn son, Aegon. After Viserys died at the end of episode 8, we've essentially reached that point in the series. In today's video, we are going to tell you what George R.R. Martin revealed about House of Dragon's ending. But before that, if you're new to this channel, please hit that subscribe button for more entertaining videos and press the bell icon to get the latest video updates every time we drop something new. The more House of the Dragon delves into the mysteries of the Targaryens' past, the less it seems to be set in the same universe as Game of Thrones. While the series may be a Game of Thrones prequel, it's becoming clear that the new show's creative team are comfortable moving away from the concluded HBO original series in favor of a story that unfolds, still continues in the book A Song of Ice and Fire by George R.R. Martin series. By Martin's own account, his book's set for a longer and much more convoluted ending. House of the Dragon is all about the Targaryen family, so it's no surprise that it digs into their past. But in its first season, the series already jumps beyond its source material, Fire and Blood, to reveal previously unknown details about one of A Song of Ice and Fire's most important characters. And according to the showrunners, the reveal comes straight from George R.R. Martin himself. The division between House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones is more about themes and feelings than it is about plot, at least right now. In House of the Dragon Episode 8, The Lord of the Tides, the show delved even deeper into Aegon the Conqueror's royal prophecy, which suggests that a Targaryen has to sit on the Iron Throne to save Westeros from a frozen and deadly threat that waits to the north. But the relationship between House of the Dragon and its predecessor show is more than just thematically tenuous at this point. According to the House of the Dragon showrunner Ryan Condal, the addition of Aegon's Prophecy is one that came from Martin himself. Given how many different times Martin has written versions of this prophecy, or similar ones, into A Song of Ice and Fire, his doubling down here certainly seems important. And if it's important, then it must mean that the series ending can't be the same as the one from Game of Thrones, where it hardly mattered at all. The invasion of the White Walkers in HBO series was a brief affair and mostly accounted to an episode-length battle at Winterfell in the dead of Westeros' coldest and darkest season. Few main characters were ever put in real danger, the South was never involved, and the largest, most existential threat in the series was dispatched with just a jab from a dagger that we now know once belonged to Viserys. It was anticlimactic to say the least, but House of the Dragon gives us our latest example that it's also probably not the fate meant for the conflict in the books. There's no way to know for sure exactly how Martin's book series will end, or what elements it will or won't change from the HBO series. But at the very least, it seems that House of the Dragon is heading more toward the ending fans expect from A Song of Ice and Fire than the one that disappointed many viewers back in 2019. It also doesn't hurt to know that House of the Dragon is getting as many episodes as it needs to finish its story, unlike its predecessor. House of the Dragon's first episode revolves around King Viserys' eventual choice to name his daughter Rhaenyra as the successor of the Iron Throne of Westeros. This goes against the precedents of the realm, specifically the Great Council of 101 AC's decision that solidified in the minds of most their male heirs took priority for the crown above female heirs. None of this is news to viewers familiar with the prequel series story, but what King Viserys tells his teenage daughter should be a welcome surprise to hardcore A Song of Ice and Fire fans. House of the Dragon makes the excellent decision to center Rhaenyra and Alicent's friendship right from the start. The rift between them is what brings about the Dance of the Dragons, so it makes sense that House of the Dragon begins developing their relationship in the very first episode. In Fire and Blood, Rhaenyra and Alicent aren't particularly close before Alicent marries King Viserys, but in House of the Dragon, they are fast friends. Their in-show childhood bond promises to make their fallout even more heartbreaking, which is sure to give later episodes even greater emotional weight. The fates of all the House of Dragon characters, according to Fire and Blood, are: Princess Rhaenyra rules as Queen Rhaenyra for about half a year on the Iron Throne. As many of her children are killed, she flees King's Landing after a riot known as the Storming of the Dragon Pit and is eventually caught. Her half-brother, Alicent's son, Aegon II, feeds her to his dragon, Sunfire. Alicent Hightower, aka Queen Alicent, survives the Dance of the Dragons. However, she was confined to her chambers in the last of her life, and in the books she goes insane and dies during an outbreak of winter fever in 133 AC. Prince Daemon marries Rhaenyra following the death of his second wife, Laena Velaryon, and they have 3 children. When he is riding his dragon during the battle above God's Eye, he leaps from his dragon to kill Aemond, one of Alicent's sons, with Viserys. Daemon's body is never found. Lord Coriolis Velaryon supported Rhaenyra in her claim to the throne, but after a series of events is accused of treachery and is arrested. After news of his arrest circulates, his men begin to abandon Rhaenyra's forces, and after Rhaenyra flees Dragon's Landing, he is released from the dungeons. Alicent offers him a pardon in exchange for support of King Aegon II, and Corlys negotiates that Aegon III and Jaehaera should be wed. He dies of old age. Sir Laenor Velaryon, who married his cousin Rhaenyra, is killed by his friend, Sir Quarrel Corey, 3 years after the birth of Joffrey. In the books, multiple reasons are given why Qarl's killing Laenor, either out of jealousy, that Laenor was enamored with someone else, or that Daemon had Laenor killed. In the show, Laenor fakes his death and leaves Westeros with Qarl, a rare happy ending. Jaehaerys, Lucerys, and Joffrey Velaryon, Rhaenyra and Laenor's 3 sons, like to actually be the sons of Sir Harwin Strong, are killed during the Dance of the Dragons. Aegon II, known as Aegon the Elder, is Alicent and Viserys' eldest son who rules as king. During the Dance of the Dragon, he is badly burned in a battle and his legs are crippled. He dies from poison at age 24. Helaena Targaryen, the only daughter of Viserys and Alicent, is married to her older brother Aegon II. They have 3 children, twins, Jaehaerys and Jaehaera and Maelor. During the Dance of the Dragons, Jaehaerys is killed and Helaena is taken captive after King's Landing falls to Rhaenyra. Helaena dies by suicide. House of the Dragon moves at an extremely different pace than Game of Thrones, and George R.R. Martin is giving his take on the infamous time jumps and how long he thinks the new HBO series should last. The Sopranos had 13 episodes per season, but just a few years later Game of Thrones had only 10, and not even that, those last 2 seasons. The A Song of Ice and Fire author wrote on his blog, "If the House of the Dragon had 13 episodes per season, maybe we could have shown all the things we had time to jump over. That would have risked having some viewers complain that the show was too slow and nothing happened." Martin said that he was thrilled to still have 10 hours every season to tell the story of Game of Thrones prequel series. The fantasy novel author noted that shows like Rings of Power has only 8 episodes in their first season, and his own Dark Winds has only 6 episode seasons. It's hard not to admit that TV series sometimes suffer when they don't have enough time, or conversely too much time to tell their story. Although 4 10-episode seasons is only half of Game of Thrones' 8 seasons, if George R.R. Martin thinks that that's enough to finish the story and tell it well, then that seems like a good plan for the show. That's it for today. What's your take on the series ending? Let us know in the comments below. Click that like button if you enjoyed the video and share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe.